What's up, everybody? It's Jeff. My name is Jeff, and I'm the odd man out. This is the first video, and it's going to be appropriately titled, or it is appropriately titled, "Is the government legitimate?" As a person who's spent, most of their life of, kind of asking these political questions, these philosophical questions. Ultimately, they're all philosophical. Anybody that thinks that political theory is like legit set in stone, you've never really studied history. So the question that constantly comes up for myself is the government legitimate? And I hope to answer that. So let's unpack this. Let's unpack this whole idea. Where does the government get its power from? And most people will, they'll allude to a social contract or the consent of the governed, which is right in some way, but not really. I'm gonna point this out to you in a second. Or some magical document written 300 years ago, almost 300 years ago. But none of that is what makes the government legitimate. The only thing that makes the government legitimate is the amount of resources that it has to utilize. That's it. But what I want to go over is how do you test the limits of government legitimacy? And there's an easy way to test it. So let's look at it from a local level. And I'm going to use my local government as an example. Well, my former local government, Plaquemines Parish, was where I was born and raised. Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, and the resources are finite because that government, the funds, what funds that government is based on, oil royalties, in large part, not sales tax like other places. It's in large part, it's oil royalties. And as soon as the oil prices plunged, the government didn't have the resources to enforce certain things. It didn't have the resources to allocate towards grass being cut, certain roads being taken care of. So resource plays the biggest role as to what makes a government legitimate and whether or not they'll use their resources to enforce a law. That also plays a role, and that's where the consent of the government comes in. So let's talk about the state government. Since we looked at local, let's talk about state. Against all the science on the books that we understand about anything about viral mitigation, they came out and said, hey, outdoor dining is safe. But California decided, hey, outdoor dining is not safe and you can't do it. So the people stopped listening. That's where the consent of the government comes in, and the government tried to enforce those laws, but they only had so many resources to do so with. So a lot of the people that disobeyed those laws, they got away with it because the government in that instance, wasn't legitimate. It didn't have a legitimate claim over that certain portion of our lives, and the people made sure that it knew that. I want to point out that usually illegitimate governments that have some sort of resource still exercise their power, but they do so in an aggressive manner, just like California did. It's against the will of the people. People in mass went out and patroned these businesses. So it should have been a sign that hey, this isn't something that you should even touch. You have no claim over this aspect of our lives, and they still did it anyway, and it made them look like assholes. So that was a nice little case study right there. And we can look at the federal government. Federal government, there's a bunch of good examples of the states just not going along with the federal laws. Drug prohibition is a big one right now. Federal level, the state laws with prohibition, drug laws, states going against that shows you the extent to which the federal government has power. In order for them to really lay claim in legitimacy on prohibition, they would have had to invade those states and overthrow the governments and overthrow the will of the people, essentially, who voted for those laws to be ignored. Coronavirus was a really good case study for how legitimate the government is and what it could do. Like, even locally, people would have what they call these freedom circles, and basically what they do is they take 20 or 30 people and they go to a grocery store, like a flash mob, but they just don't wear a mask, and the local government can't do anything about it because it's not willing to extend those resources to enforce those laws. So it's an illegitimate form of government. And as an agorist, I'm loving this. For those of you that don't know, I am an agorist and an anarchist. This has me smiling from ear to ear every time I see stuff like this. So the government is really only as legitimate as its resources allow it to be, and at the end of the day, the people that decide how much it has in terms of resources are the people, because those are the ones that pay the taxes. If everybody in mass stopped paying taxes, you really think the federal government's going to go out and arrest us all? And that's what we call civil disobedience. So hopefully you walked away from this, with the scary notion that your government is only one en masse action from being kaput. Kind of scary, right? That's it. I believe we went over the most basic form of government legitimacy. Went over some examples. So if you enjoyed it, hit like, subscribe down below if you learned anything. Share it with other people if you like the message. I'm the odd man out. Peace.